AOC is playing both sides. And AOC is also one of the biggest money getters. Let's call her that. Let's give her a very urban name. She's a money getter for the Democratic Party. And we're going to find out in this article. So AOC donates over $250,000 to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. She's quite a socialist, and she keeps proving, she's a socialist, right? I'm being sarcastic. But let's read. I took a couple of snippets out of the article, and it was a pretty good article. This is from the World Socialist website. This is AOC's first donation to the committee. Under conditions of growing popular hostility to the Biden administration, AOC, who is a key political prop of President Biden, is emerging as a significant financial prop of the Democratic Party in the 2024 election. The New York Congresswoman is one of the Democratic Party's major fundraisers. Since 2019, look how much money she's raked in. She has raked in more than $37 million. Now, let's pause here. Maybe she has, and I haven't heard of it. Has AOC raked in $37 million to support the cause of getting Medicare for all, of getting a Green New Deal? Has she? Oh, that's weird. Let's continue. In addition to the $260,000 transferred to the DCC, AOC's Political Action Committee maintains $500,000 that will be, they maintains, meaning they're saying they're going to do, what they're going to do is give $500,000 that will be used to elect Democratic Party candidates across the country, especially in swing districts. She was one of the first Democrats to endorse Biden for re-election last year, too. Remember her and Bernie Sanders? They were racing to click the vote for Biden button as soon as he announced, literally the same day. In a remarkable comment, she told the Times that she had, quote, little confidence that the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, would take issue with an effort by Trump to overturn the election should he lose in November. Quote, this party has turned into a party of Trumpism, she said. What she did not say is that the same Biden administration, which she supports, has made a key aspect of its domestic and foreign policy the closing of ranks with the far-right Republicans to ensure the waging of war abroad. This is from, they're speaking to another article I had covered yesterday. Yeah, it was on the World Socialist website. Yeah, not yesterday. We covered it on the Post-Duopoly show. Let me see if I can just bring up the headline here. I'm going to just bring this down just for one moment. But let me read this last line one more time. Let me read this last line one more time. And then I'm going to bring up the other item because this last section here is what this other headline that I'm going to bring up is speaking to. Okay, here we go. What she did not say is that the same Biden administration, which she supports, has made a key aspect of its domestic and foreign policy the closing of ranks with the far-right Republicans to ensure the waging of war abroad. So let's go to the actual headline here that article is referring to. And like I said, we reported on this with Due Dissidence and Heartlands Media. This is the headline. The bipartisan politics of imperialism, Democratic liberals and Republican fascists unite in funding Gaza genocide and Ukraine proxy war. That's what she didn't mention. So now let's go back to the article. And so here, the Biden administration and the Democratic Party have not only blocked investigations of the role of the Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security, and other state agencies in the fascist coup attempt of January 6, 2021. But on key issues of domestic policy, most notably the attack on immigrants and immigration, Biden has also adopted central elements of the policies of the Republican Party. So the Trumpism that she's speaking about, isn't Joe Biden also part of that Trumpism, as this article points out, specifically on immigration and teaming up with the Republican House to fund war? Just amazing. Despite this record, AOC argued that the House leadership and the Democratic Party more broadly had changed sufficiently over the last 5 years to warrant a direct, sizable cash transfer. They've gotten so good, we can now start donating to these corporate people. This is a realignment. The shifting of, the creation of the NATO left and the shifting of the NATO left, formerly a part of the Bernie coalition, the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs, all of them being protested over the Ukraine war because of their rightward shift to supporting it. Let's continue. In an open acknowledgement of AOC's role as a prop of the crisis-ridden Democratic National Committee, Hakeem Jeffries praised AOC for, quote, helping us protect the integrity of the election process and take back the House in 2024. The guy who is one of the top recipients of AIPAC money. You see the incestual sort of relationships social democrats have to have with the very things they claim to be against. This will be like, this is the same thing when AIPAC praised Bernie Sanders in the tweet. This is the equivalent of that. You have Hakeem Jeffries, who have done so much damage, according to progressives, to the progressive cause. He was a starch enemy. They all voted for him as House Speaker. And now you see him praising them. This is just amazing. The realignment is here. Continuing. Indeed, AOC has been working overtime to advance the re-election campaign of Biden and corral the growing movement of workers and young people against the genocide in Gaza. Corral them. How do you corral them? Pretend to be a friend. Put on your white liberal hat, your white moderate hat. The quote from Martin Luther King, MLK. The white liberal, the white moderate is the most dangerous thing out there. That's the wolf in the hen house. That's AOC. That's Bernie Sanders. Oh, let's kumbaya for Palestinians. Joe, you got the money going to them? You got the money going to Netanyahu, right? Okay, let's kumbaya. That's what they're doing. That's what progressives are doing, including Rashida Tlaib, with them attempting to co-opt the uncommitted movement, with them attempting to co-opt the Palestinian struggle movement. They're not here to help the cause. They're here to co-opt the cause and bring some of you radicals back to the Democratic plantation. Expanding, this is where I'm at, guys, if you're following. Expanding imperialist power. Let me read all of it together because it's part of a full sentence. So I'll start back up here. Indeed, AOC has been working overtime to advance the re-election campaign of Biden and corral the growing movement of workers and young people against the genocide in Gaza. Expanding imperialist war, attacks on basic democratic rights, the threat of fascism, and unprecedented inequality behind the Democratic Party. Over the last several weeks, AOC has been making the rounds on the talk show circuit, stumping for Biden and the Democratic Party. That's what she's absolutely been doing it. We've been covering it. She was on the Colbert Show. She's made several appearances on CNN and MSNBC. And she was on some other show. I don't know. It was like some female host, two blonde female hosts. I don't know the name of the show. She was on there too. In an appearance on the Late Show, also on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert last week, AOC described Biden as, quote, a man of tremendous empathy as he sends weapons and bombs over to the people committing genocide. She added that the Democratic Party, quote, has always been a coalition party. We coalition with genociders. That's what we do. She added that the Democratic Party, quote, has always been a coalition party, end quote, bringing, quote, everyone together every time, end quote. She voiced support for the uncommitted movement, the campaign in a number of Democratic primary elections to vote uncommitted instead for Biden, telling her host that it is critical to keep anti-war sentiment chained to the Democratic Party by making it appear that protesters are being seen by the Biden administration. So she's here to give cover to the genocide. This is why Malcolm X said the white liberals wanted the most dangerous things. I want humanitarian aid for Palestinians. Let's fight for a ceasefire while you do this on the other side. She and those like her are not only not socialists, but are actively hostile to socialism and the working class. That is spot on. Their principal political function consists in disorienting and confusing workers and young people who are looking for genuine democratic and socialist alternatives and tying them to the Democratic Party, which is a shame. They see people are genuinely trying to come up with a solution, and instead of you just letting them be, you go co-opt that to bring them back. Quite truly despicable, Bernie Sanders and AOC. Let's continue. But I do want to read this part here. She and those like her are not only not socialists, but are actively hostile to socialism and the working class. Their principal political function consists in disorienting and confusing workers and young people who are looking for a genuine democratic and socialist alternative and tying them to the Democratic Party. Just fucking disgusting. No other words to describe a person who would do that and people who would do that. And that's all of the squad. That's all of the Rokanas. That's the Pramila Jayapals, the Rashida Tlaib, the Ilhan Omars, Cori Bushes. To a lesser extent, I must say Cori Bush. But she's still there. For years, AOC and the Democrats and the DSA in the Democratic Party have played a central role in advancing the war aims of American imperialism abroad and attacks on the working class at home. Since the beginning of her political career, handpicked by the Democratic Party organizers to run for Congress, AOC has functioned as a left face of the Democratic Party to prop up this party of imperialist war and to strangle efforts to build an independent socialist movement of working class in opposition to capitalism. They're basically saying she is controlled opposition. But like I said, this is a great article. Go on the World Socialist website to read the whole thing. Now, I read a good maybe 60% of it, but there's still a good 40% that I didn't read. I kind of, edited for streaming purposes. But if you do want to go over there, go check it out. Their website is pretty easy, www.wsws.org, wsws.org.